or a mushroom cap. Doesn't mean that anything bad is going on in your yard. It means that probably underneath that there's a decomposing tree root. Don't worry about it. It's not hurting anything. You can kick them over. You can get rid of them 100 different ways and they will come right back. If you want to speed up the decomposition of a stump, what you can do is drill a bunch of holes down into it and fill them with something called potassium nitrate. Saltpeter is its common name. Used to be you could buy it at any drugstore or any farm store in the country. Then in our modern era of terrorism and kids with bad ideas and things like that, I was fascinated in high school when I learned that saltpeter plus sulfur plus charcoal makes gunpowder. And I made some things that went bang in the backyard, and it was a lot of fun. But you know, that means that you're a horrible juvenile delinquent, and I probably would have been sentenced to 15 years somewhere or other for making a homemade firecracker. So saltpeter's harder to buy now. You can buy it under the name of stump remover. You can go out to Analytical Scientific and buy it under the name of potassium nitrate. Drill your holes, fill them with this white stuff that's about the consistency of sugar. It reacts with the wood fiber to form something called nitrocellulose, which is very soft and very spongy. You either chop it out after a few months, or you put a couple of charcoal briquettes on top of it and light, and it just smolders right down to the ground. All of a sudden, no more stump. But if you've got big old ash trees, there's going to be a bunch of wood in the ground, which is just going to take time to rot and go away. If you want to plant another tree, don't plant it right on top where it's going to sink as the stump rots. Move a few feet and you'll be just fine. Okay. Other things about planting and buying trees, things like that. Okay, so don't buy any overgrown plant in a pot. It's not a bargain at any price. Be sure you split the side of the root ball. Now, I probably wouldn't say that about mountain laurels. They have such a delicate root system, and they're not likely, they don't grow a big trunk, at least not for a lot of years, so you're not likely to have a problem with girdling roots. But, again, told you about all those very fine little root hairs that you really can't see. But you can disrupt those root hairs if you break up that soil ball very much. And if you're planting a plant, you never do what I'm going to do here. The root ball doesn't weigh anything. You don't ever carry a plant around like that. You carry a plant around, especially a big plant or a tree, by the root ball. When you take it out of the pot, you gently set it into the ground by the root ball. Don't ever grab it by the trunk and haul it around. Or you bring up the root ball, you dislodge those little roots, things like that. Just a couple of other little tricks learned over the years. You bought a tree, you brought it home, it's really heavy, it's right over there. How do you get it from point A to point B? Put it on a towel, put it on an old bed sheet, whatever else, grab the corners and scoot it along. You ever moving a big plant around inside your house? Put a towel on it, take hold of the towel and slide it along. It's amazing how large a plant you can move. Going up and down stairs, we got an interesting thing inside, and I can't even remember the name of it right now, but pot lifters. That's what they're called, they're pot lifters. And it's a little system of, kind of a little strap-like thing that goes around the pot. It's got a handle on each side. We'll give you 2 cents for them for one person, but for two people, one person can get on each side. One of the guys here in the nursery and I have moved some extraordinarily heavy pots downtown for somebody, and it makes it a whole lot easier. But don't screw up your back. Get somebody else to do it. But if you have to move something from point A to point B, a towel, a bed sheet, even a piece of cardboard that you put the thing on and then slide along will make the job immensely easier for you. When you plant, it is critically important to remember that the root ball is only the size of the container. And when you check to see if the plant needs water, you feel the soil right at the base of the plant. You don't feel the surrounding soil, because where does the water go? For the most part, it does not evaporate out of the soil. It's taken up by the roots, it's lost out through the leaves of the plant. So the soil at the base of the plant is going to dry out a lot faster than the surrounding soil is going to. And it is very critical, especially when you plant at this time of the year, that you don't let things get too dry. It's very critical in the middle of the winter that you don't keep things too wet. So feel the soil at the base of the plant. And there's really only one moisture meter that works, and everybody has several of them. At least most of us have several of them, unless you're a lumberjack. But anyway, feel the soil. The so-called moisture meters that you stick in, they really don't even measure moisture. They measure salt content, and they are highly unreliable. But feel the soil and judge that way. As far as watering plants, sprinkler systems do not water trees and shrubs, especially young trees and shrubs. Sprinkler systems were developed to water grass, period. And if you're relying on your sprinkler system to water trees and shrubs, especially in a year like this, you're going to lose a lot of plants because, you know, the sprinkler system is going to water the soil this deep. Where are the roots of your plants? They're way below that. So if you don't have the time to water by hand, don't plant now. Best 2 months of the year to do your landscape work, October and November, because then the weather is cooling off, gives your plants a chance to form a decent root system before it gets real hot again. In our climate, winter is a lot less critical than summer is. Summer's a whole lot harder on our plants, and the earlier you plant the plants, the longer they have to get those roots established before summer's heat hits again. That's why fall is the best time for landscaping. 98% of the people in the world want to do it in the spring because the world is new and the plants are beautiful and the lush, beautiful growth is coming out everywhere. And but that's not the best time, and especially if you're planting where you can't water regularly. In 50 years, they can't germinate because you're not getting any light. If you want to have weeds, go out and till your soil. You'll have weeds you never dreamed were there. You'll also find that there are some weeds that need a little bit of a light acid or something to break their seed coat and start them growing. I hear this so often. People say, somebody brought me a load of compost and it was full of weeds. No, it wasn't. They spread the compost out there. That compost suddenly improved the soil to where the weed could germinate and grow. But anyway, back to planting grass. All you want is for the grass to make real good contact with the soil underneath. Don't till it. If you got weeds and other things, mow them off. If you've got a lot of debris there, rake it off. Put the grass down. A couple of important things about buying grass. It needs to be planted the day you get it. And you need to get it the day after it's cut from the grass field. It cannot remain stacked on that pallet. If it stays on that pallet more than 48 hours, the quality of it just does this. And don't trust the people you buy it from. Never look at the top layer. Go down about 2 or 3 layers deep. Stick your hand in it. If it feels hot and clammy, do not accept it. It's been sitting on that pallet for too long. When you get your grass, get a case of beer and call every strong friend that you know and tell them you're having a party. And and you can use the excuse when they get there, say, well, the beer's not cold yet. Let's lay this grass and then we'll have the party. But anyway, get that grass spread out. If you don't get it all spread out, put it on your driveway, 1 layer deep. You cannot let it stay stacked or it will deteriorate in a big hurry. When you put it out, go out and rent one of these water fillable rollers. Every rental store in town has them. They used to be $2 a day. They're probably $10 a day now. You fill them with water and you go and you roll them back and forth over this new grass that you've planted. You're not trying to level it out. You're trying to take out air pockets. You're trying to press that new grass tightly down on the soil underneath it. Single most important thing you do when you're planting the grass. Then of course you water frequently. Using organic fertilizer, you can put it out anytime you like. You don't have to wait. Chemical fertilizers, we used to say wait a month until the grass had some roots down. Nowadays, you know, you can put your fertilizer down the day you plant your grass. If you use something like this Medina stuff, you're probably buying it in a bigger bag. You put it out the day you plant your grass, and your grass will be that much happier. Let's see. One other thing that I will tell you about planting trees, just because I see this done so wrong so often. You know, you're looking at that cypress tree right there, for instance, and you're thinking, well, gosh, I don't want any limbs down close to the ground. Well, some people are under the misconception that tree limbs rise up. And somehow, if that limb is 3 feet off the ground now, when that tree matures, the limb's going to be 10 feet off the ground. It's not going to. It's still going to be 3 feet off the ground, and it's going to be in your way. But stop and think about it. Everywhere you have a leaf on a limb, it's making sugar, and that sugar is flowing into the trunk. And that trunk is going to grow much more quickly in diameter for having that constant food source all the way up and down the trunk. So we've got a quandary here. We want leaves all the way up and down the trunk, but we don't want them to make major limbs. When you plant a tree, nurseryman's technical term for it is we call it trashy trunk. You would like to have leaves all the way up and down the trunk. So what you do is all those lower limbs, you go in and you cut them back to where they're about 6 inches long. We're not going to let them make scaffold limbs, but we're going to have a bunch of foliage up and down the trunk. Now when the trunk gets up to about this size in diameter, then you go through and cut them all the way off. And if you could look at these big old cypress trees we've got, when we started out all the way up and down, and every year we would go a little bit further, cutting the limbs up. Look at that sycamore that I keep pointing at out there. The first year it had, you know, little limbs all the way to the ground. I need to go through and probably take some of them further off now. But